Greetings ESL 106. Here is just a short video to look at the vocabulary for this week, vocabulary 1B. So I'm looking at your chart and I also have the book open to page 50. So you should do that too. Get your notebook, pen so you can take notes, and let's just review the vocabulary you have this week. On page 50, you'll see the box with 10 words in it, vocabulary 1B. I also have this chart for you. Let's see if I can bring it up. There it is. That you'll find in the folder for Module 2, Vocabulary 1B, and you'll see these 10 words here. As we talked about last week, you've got the part of speech, the syllable stress pattern, and then a definition for each word. So hopefully that's helpful to you as you study. You can also print this out if you have access to a printer, and there's space for you to type in or write in examples, notes about how you're finding this word, the kinds of sentences that you're finding it in. So these are the kinds of notes I want you to be taking in your notebook as you feel more familiar and confident with each of these words. Let's take a look at how these 10 words are used on page 150. Just page 50. We're going to start with these first 5 sentences. And the first question I have for you is, what part of speech is missing? That's going to help me choose which word to use. I see that in this list, I have all nouns and verbs. And if I look carefully at the sentence, I can see whether I need a noun or whether I need a verb. So I'll ask you that, and hopefully you'll be able to guess as we write in the right answer. So here we go. The blank used by Leonardo da Vinci. As I see the verb is here, I'm going to guess I need a noun here. The word that definite article often comes before a noun. What about number 2? What part of speech is missing? I see it has the earliest. Again, it's using the with an adjective, but I'm going to use another noun here, right? The earliest something of the night sky. Talking about the Wuxin star map. Number 3, again, I have an important, I say again because it's an indefinite article, an adjective, and I expect to find a noun that comes after that adjective. Let's look at number 4. Do I have a verb yet? Let's see. The programmer has to compensate for a computer something. Here I have another noun phrase. They're using computer to describe this noun, right? They're using computer almost like an adjective, but I'm going to use another noun here. There are several. Okay, I see that I have an adjective talking about number, something in an android's face. Wow, 5 nouns. All of these first sentences are requiring nouns. So let's see if we can match nouns from page 50 that would fit the meaning of these sentences. Now we need the context to help us. Number 1, the something used by Leonardo da Vinci. I'm talking here about an artist. I see that we're talking about his paintings. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get my pen here. And we're talking about an artist and his paintings. What would the noun be that you would use to talk about an artist? If you chose the word perspective, that was a good guess. Number 2, the clue for the noun here is that we're talking about a map, a star map. It's old, it dates 1000 BCE, and that is the earliest, another word that means map, or something where I can see the night sky. The word I would choose here is chart, something that shows the organization of this information. It's a chart. We're going to look at number 3, an important something of the Strati number D, printed car. We're talking about a 3D printed car. Sorry, this number should be 3. Talking about this 3D printed car, we're talking about an important part. And what's a word here that means part? If you guessed component, you're right. Component means a part of this car. Let's look at number 4. A programmer has to compensate for a computer something by adjusting the data. So this has the idea that the programmer is dealing with some problems, challenges. The word I would choose here is the computer error, a mistake. And the programmer has to adjust to that mistake. Number 5, there are several something. My clue here, this is another word that means parts, right? And it's talking about an android's face. An android is a robot. Because I have the word several, I expect this noun to come in the plural with an S. And that's why I use the word mechanisms here. I could say components. Mechanisms and components are similar, but they gave me the clue by giving me a plural when it came to mechanisms. So let's just review these words. Let's say them together. Say them with me. Try to get the stress in the right place. Perspective, chart, component, error, mechanisms. Mechanisms. Good work. Let's see if we can finish these last 5 sentences. And if you haven't done them, this is a good place to pause and go ahead and do them yourself. We're going to guess the meaning that belongs to each of these sentences, the word that needs to complete these sentences. But again, let's start first with the part of speech. I see in number 6 and number 7 a familiar pattern where they're using the word to. And if I see the word to, it's giving me the clue that I'll need a verb. They're giving me the infinitive, right? Patterns begin to, I need a verb. Again, it's possible to, this is asking for a verb, to do something. Let's take a look at number 8, race. That's a person that we're reading about in this chapter. This person, something, a compass rose and other navigation symbols into his work. Yeah, this is a place for the main verb. Reese is my subject, the person. I need a verb to talk about his action. Number 9, the new software program has a greater profit. This is a noun phrase. It starts with a, greater, profit. These are descriptors, and I need a noun that's going to talk about something I use with the word profit. Number 10, let's see, the ability of the android to interact with its observers, something, a high level of programming. This is the place for the verb, right? The ability is the subject. Here comes the verb. Let's see if we can guess which words should go there in order to complete these sentences. Let's take a look at some of the clues in number 6. Number 6, I see when a facial recognition software analyzes data, looking at lots of different parts, patterns begin to, what would the verb be here? The idea that something is coming out of all of this data that makes sense. That's a good place to use the word emerge. If you guessed emerge, you're right. Number 7, it's possible to something, a person's physical appearance in a photograph. So we know that it's definitely possible to get a photograph and edit it. What would be a word that means edit? If you guessed to alter, that was a good guess. Number 8, Reese we find out this is a map maker that we read about. And this is the verb, this is what he does with all of his tools. What does he do with them into his work? Into is a clue. So if you guessed the word incorporated, you were right. He incorporated the compass rose, the other navigation symbols into his work, put them into it. Number 9, talking more about software and its great profit. Yeah. What is a word I can use with profit? So this is an expression we'll talk about, and I'm using it with margin. Profit margin is that cushion, that space, when a company gets out of debt and begins to make a profit, right? The new software program has a greater profit margin with companies that sell to government institutions. It creates a bigger space of profit. We're going to see that word margin used with profit and then also with the word error, a margin of error. Also talking about the space you have to make adjustments if there's an error. Number 10, the last verb that we're missing, talking here about the ability of the android, the robot, right, to interact with its observers. And I need a word that means to show a high level of programming. So if you chose indicate, you're right. That's a good choice. This ability to interact, indicate, shows a really high level of programming. So good work, guys. I hope this helps you to see these words, to hear these words. In fact, let's just say these 5 words together. Emerge, alter, incorporated, margin, indicates. Your next steps, in order to make sure you know this vocabulary, your next steps are to go into Quizlet, do some review. There are flashcards there for you. There are games for you to play. Be sure you're writing these words down in your notebook. When you find examples in the book, in Quizlet, in other places with these words, write them down in your notebook. And you'll find additional examples in the back of your book if you head over to the appendix. There's a quiz for you. It's called Quiz 1B, and you can take it as many times as you want. Each time you take it, it'll change up a little bit, the questions, but there will be the same types of questions, the same 10 words will be asked about. So be sure as you write sentences or even just the word that you're spelling things correctly, that you're editing carefully when you take that quiz. It's a good idea to check the feedback that I gave you on the first quiz you took, quiz 1A. That feedback will help you see where you're losing points and where you need to be more careful.